Ca.
Hey everybody, how you doing? It's your boy DC coming at you with an episode of Out of the Fog that's dedicated to the future of. You're going to meet three friends of mine tonight, and we're going to talk about the future of wellness. A lot of interesting insights and thoughts to share, so stick around and we'll be right back.
You're watching Rogers TV, St. John's.
Good evening, 007.
Tell me what you know of James Bond.
He'll light the fuse on any explosive situation.
Got your attention.
007 license to kill.
Is this really what you want? Living in the shadows? Always alone?
I don't stop to think about it.
You're watching Rogers TV, St. John's.
And welcome back, everybody. This is the special edition of Out of the Fog you're watching, and this is a theme that we put together called The Future Of, which is a future-minded, proactive, positive discussion around the future of so many amazing industries that make up Newfoundland and Labrador. And so I'm very lucky to have three incredible guests hanging out with me on this call. The amazing Dane Woodland, Mike Wahl, Melanie Caines. How you guys doing?
Good.
Great. So first, I'm going to round it out by letting everybody viewing at home, in case anybody doesn't know you powerhouses. Dane, I'd like to turn it over to you. Please give us a little bit of a view into your life and what has led you into your career of wellness.
Wow. Thanks, DC. I think I've been doing this. It's been 8 years now. I'm a personal trainer and group fitness instructor, and I currently work out of Max Fitness here in St. John's. I'm also an ambassador with Lululemon St. John's as well, related to my community work and fitness involvement locally. I've been involved as well in the community as a coach for track and field and cross-country skiing. So I've certainly had a wonderful variety of opportunities in this industry, and it's been an interesting time so far with our physical disconnect in a workplace that is, so physical.
Very. And what about you, Mel? Why don't you let us know about what led you into your wellness career?
Well, I was an actor for a really long time, a stage actor, and yoga was something that I was doing on the road to keep fit, healthy, and sane. And it suddenly became my full-time gig. So I've been teaching for over 11 years now, and I have Nova Yoga studio here in St. John's, and the studio is 10 years old. And I also run an online business, Move with Melanie. So I've got online video site with over 200 practices that keeps growing. And I run international yoga retreats. Basically, they're healthy vacations where people get to go, disconnect, do yoga, eat good food, and feel good.
Oh my God, take me there. So many friends of mine have gone on those actually, and they rave about them. So good job. Mike, I mean, geez, tell me everything,
I've been in wellness for over 20 years. I got a PhD in medicine, so I'm an adjunct professor at the university, and I do a lot of work with kinesiology and the medical school and things like anatomy and physiology. I had a wellness company for about 15 years, and now I consult with the government and some other organizations on their wellness strategy going forward. So, and also involved a little bit on the telehealth side of things prior to leaving my previous company. So kind of in line with our conversation today.
Very much so. So I want to just take a second to bridge. Behind you, Mike, are these beautiful pictures from exotic places all over the world. I'm assuming you might have been to a place or two.
Yeah. It's one of the things that's been really interesting is travel has been an important part of kind of my evolution in health. And a lot of the time I'd like to travel to different places where people do health in different ways and see what you can bring back to our very unique province ourselves. And, that's been a personal interest of mine, but a way that kind of fuels my wellness passion in other ways as well.
Dane, I know you from watching you on the gram, you've been all over the world too. And Melanie, as we mentioned just now, you have your traveling practice. In the wake of COVID-19, when we're thinking about the ability to hop on a plane and get off the island versus not, that's its own wellness opportunity that's in flux right now. Melanie, what does the idea of being province-bound for the next few months, what does that do when I bring that up to you? How do you feel about that?
Well, I guess if you brought it up a couple of weeks ago, I would have had a different reaction. I think I've kind of like settled in and come to terms with our reality. But when you have a travel business and you can't travel, it's paralyzing. You literally can't do anything. So it's been really stressful figuring out what to do. I've had to cancel a couple of retreats, Cuba in March and Spain in June, and a teacher training in May in Cuba. I know it has made me realize how much I take for granted. And now I think about the idea of hopping on a plane and it's like, oh my God, I cannot wait to go somewhere again. So that is going to be so friggin' sweet when we leave again. So I think it's actually made me more grateful and open my eyes to, the things that we take for granted, these amazing opportunities to go and explore and experience, and to have that taken away from you. It's like, wow, how privileged are we?
It's true. And so yet, we're looking out our windows of our houses and looking at the current state of affairs. And this brings us right back into the point of our talk. Here's my life, okay? Straight up. I wake up in the morning, look out the window. I used to go to the gym every morning, 6:45 on the floor, repetition. It's how I start my day. I'm lost, guys. It's like emotional moments, like I'm holding back here. So I'm going to ask you, Dane, when it comes to consistency of the practice of wellness, what are your clients dealing with right now? The same as me? Is it different? Talk about it.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really important thing, even in your own personal description there, about just structure and how structure has been so disrupted. I'm seeing that in my clients, and I find what you said very relatable for me as well. I relied on the structure of my workday to give me a window of time to work out. I would have a chunk of clients in the morning, usually afternoon off. I would exercise, and then more clients in the evening. And now, without that structure, my workout schedule has been actually very helter-skelter. Some days it's in the morning. I worked out like 9:30 a couple nights ago because I just hadn't gotten it in yet, and I've been doing it in the middle of the afternoon. And I'm seeing that with my clients as well, just this general disruption to their norm, and then also the lack of access to supervision, especially people who are in pain or recovering from an injury. Oftentimes there's not a lot of confidence in movement, and they want that advice and they want that support. So not only do they not have the structure, to follow the programming that's essential to their recovery or to their strengthening, but they don't have the guidance that they need. And it really poses a lot of different challenges, I think, for those circumstances. And oftentimes I think people might feel challenged in that regard anyway. And now there's like this next layer that we have to overcome in order to allow people to continue to be healthy and to be strong.
Very well said. Mike, what are your thoughts about the need for supervision and those related outside-in energies to keep us focused in our wellness routines?
Yeah, I think that I came from the gym background too, and I was a personal trainer for years. And I think that most of the time people come down, they definitely need the guidance, but after a while, once they understand the form and technique, they come for the social aspect of it. And I think that that's one thing that all these organizations are going to start to reflect on, is be like, there's going to be online classes. Like I know Dane's doing them. I know Melanie, you're doing them. And they're getting engagement. People are getting the workout and the benefit. Maybe not as much if you were there to shift their postures and move them through it, but they're still getting some benefit. So I think that a lot of companies are going to have to reevaluate, like, what's their value proposition when it comes to the community they create and the social aspects of it. And I think some people really embrace that and recognize that in other ones, but other people are going to be like, well, you know what? I did pretty good over the last 3 months working out from home, and it's easy and it fits. And so it's just kind of an interesting change to see how the fitness industry is going to adapt to this, because a lot of those online things were there before, but people didn't really participate. Now they're having to participate if they want to be engaged. And so how it's going to shift back, if it does, is going to be really interesting to see.
Thank you so much. Melanie, you walk the floor, you give the classes, you supervise, you correct movements. It is a hands-on participation that comes with yoga classes. How do you navigate the difference between being in a room with the participants and doing a class over the interwebs?
It's challenging for sure. I find, talking to a computer screen and not seeing, a room full of people and noticing like, oh, okay, now they're sweating, or okay, they look like they're really tired. So not having that feedback is really challenging. But we always, yes, it's hands-on in a way, but we are always hands-off. So we don't do any physical adjustments unless we know someone's going to really hurt themselves, but we use our words and our cues, and we really empower people to find what feels good in their body and to know when something is not right. So I actually feel quite confident that our people know how to feel good in their bodies, and they're going to find movement that is pain-free and that is beneficial for them. So I think that in a way we've set them up for that already in our classes, because we are empowering them. There's no perfect shape. You need to find how your body works best in this shape. So I feel like most people are already there. Right. And we're just being really mindful of slowing down our cues so everyone can really hear what we're saying and be mindful of what we're saying so that they can interpret the cues and find them.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I think it is interesting to just iterate the value of fundamental exercise, movement, stretching. Those are the foundations of all of our disciplines of wellness. And yoga is well known for that. And I think that you're very well suited to do that and provide that, because you're right. People aren't coming into one of your classes typically ready to jump onto the palms of their hands and vault into the air. Although I know you do offer those types of more disciplined, advanced classes as well. I would fall over immediately, like real talk. I have no balance. So maybe I'll bother you someday and show up once things get back to normal. We're on a bridge here right now, because what we're talking about more in this chat amongst us four is technology. And we're talking about the fact, Melanie, you've been a pioneer in online classes. I feel like in our local market, you're one of the first people who even delved into trying to administer training and yoga online. Dane and Mike, talk about online classes in your necks of the woods and what you're seeing out there in terms of not only people offering it, but the uptake on it. Dane, why don't you start?
Yeah, so I think similar to Mel's case, like there has been some presence of online work with group fitness and personal training. And kind of like Mike said, some people have been availing of it, but there was always that drive to go into the physical gym. Now it seems like, especially having traveled and, gone to different gyms and been on their email subscription list, I'm getting so many updates from facilities across the country that have changed what they're doing, and they're streaming on, different channels. They've got, you can pay through MindBody, you can pay through PayPal or Zoom. And you're seeing these kinds of offerings with group fitness. And it, to me, is almost very reminiscent of my mom putting her like Buns of Steel VHS in the VCR and doing it in our living room, when I was growing up, and I was kind of there in the background and participating. And so it's like this next generation of that at-home workout. I think there's a different flavor to it for sure. We do have that interaction, when we are on Zoom.
This is amazing. I'll tell you what, guys, we're at the point of our first break. We're going to cut the commercial, we're going to come back, and then we're going to jump into a conversation related to all of this. And Mike, you're going to lead it up, and it's about forced change, which sounds whoa, and it is, depending on how you look at the opportunity of it. This is Out of the Fog, the Future of series, and we'll be right back.
All right, girls.
Mom, you said it's played again.
Workplace injuries hurt the most at home.
Blood in the urine is the most common symptom of bladder cancer. Don't ignore this warning sign, not even once.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Out of the Fog and our special panel-minded show we're doing here called The Future of. The subject is wellness, and I'm joined by three of the kingpins of this industry up in here, Melanie Caines, Dane Woodland, and Mike Wahl. Before we jumped onto the break, Mike, we had talked about forced change and the impacts of that. And during the break, Melanie is spinning out the positive side that I never even knew that was coming. But first, we'll jump back into you. Talk about forced change and how you see it from your lens.
Yeah, so I'll veer away from like the traditional wellness and fitness side for a second, talk a little bit about the medical side. Telehealth has been something that's been emerging recently. And so you think about it, somebody spends 5 hours of their day to go to a doctor for 10 minutes. And they got to sit in a waiting room full of other sick people. And the doctor doesn't touch you. They just look at you and then they give you the information you need, and it's done from there. So I think that right now where physicians are really migrating over to this, especially on the family practice side of things, I think that that's going to be people going to be like, wow, this is convenient, it's easy, it's just as effective, things get done way quicker. So I think that there's going to be huge evolution when it comes to how medicine is done. And the second thing I think is that there's a lot of organizations that are working from home, and they said, no, they can't work from home. There's no way to be able to get around that. And then people all of a sudden, they're able to work from home, and it's pretty effective because technology allows us to do that now. So I think there's going to be a really big step change. And I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think in like not work-life balance, but work-life integration, where people might actually be able to work from home and be able to have time with their family and be able to engage in physical activity and have more disposable time and be more effective at the end of the day. So I'm just kind of excited to see what convention will be challenged, because we're able to see how technology can really be used, in particular when it comes to health and wellness.
Wow, man. That's disruption to the T.
Big time. And it's forced disruption. So that's why people are going to be forced to try it out, people that wouldn't adopt it normally. And I think that's where even the naysayers will be convinced at the end of it.
Very interesting. So Melanie, I want to jump over to you, because back to what we were talking about just now, you blew our minds with what's going on in terms of your virtual offering. Why don't you tell the viewers about what's going on with you?
Yeah, so we've got pretty much our full Nova Yoga Studio schedule online, and teachers are streaming from their homes. And for some classes, attendance has doubled and sometimes tripled, which I wasn't expecting at all. And we're seeing students of ours and clients of ours who have moved away that are more than happy now to join in. People who have said, like, I just couldn't find a yoga studio that I liked as much, so now I get to practice with you again. That's awesome. We've got people that I've met on retreats through the US, through Canada, even in the UK, joining in on these videos, on these classes, and people are already asking us to keep this service going once we are allowed back into the studio. How can we keep the virtual classes going so that they can tune in from wherever they are? Even people in St. John saying, I would rather do this at home because it's easier, and they don't, I guess, waste the time of having to travel there and then having to travel back, to
and you got it good, right? Like, I mean, in St. John's, like, everything's 10 minutes away. So, like, we often, if we haven't lived in other places, we can sound pretty foolish to people who live in bigger urban settings when it comes, I got to drive all the way to the mall. It's like, dude, it's 5 minutes, you know what I mean? Yeah. But in a work day, that 5 minutes can mean the difference between taking that moment for wellness and self-care or not.
Totally.
So interesting, yeah.
And I know it doesn't replace it for everyone. I know some people are still going to enjoy going to the studio and having that connection and that community. But one thing that's been really great about these Zoom classes is that we actually hop on before and stay after, and have a little chat. And so that connection has been really, really special, and I think really, really good for people.
That's amazing. There is a conversation that we want to have, and it's threaded through what we've been talking about, which is community, and how we're trying to continue to build that virtually, and it's going really great in some situations. Dane, you have always been such a proponent of community in your industry, in your networks. Talk about what you're seeing now under the umbrella of wellness and what you do.
I think one thing that's really interesting, actually, I was just reflecting on it during our break, is how we even go about defining wellness and what components of our day help influence like a positive relationship with wellness. And I'll reference an initiative that was rolled out by Lululemon for their staff and ambassadors. They've got the schedule going, and they've got blocks morning, afternoon, and evening for different things for ambassadors and store people to offer on 1 hour Zoom calls. And So the first week, everyone was offering like exercise and yoga and, circuit training and different kinds of things. And now as we settle in and this becomes our new norm, more and more of what's being offering is people doing like interpretive drawing classes, or like an hour of setting, your vision and your goals, or, here are some like developmental opportunities. And so we're seeing people kind of engage in different arms of wellness that we might not always highlight. I think specifically about like that structuring and your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others. And so that we're using all that as a means of engaging in community, and we're having some of those vulnerable conversations and those shared moments where we can kind of lean into one another and talk about our lived experiences and what we need, and what the world looks like around us. So it's kind of cool to see how community and wellness are being woven together in not just this repetition of physical fitness, but also this sense of emotional wellness and mental wellness, and how we're all coming together because we all recognize as a collective that we all have those needs.
I think that's so amazing. And I will actually highlight that Recreation NL, which is a provincial organization that is mandated to offer programs and services and connection around the subject of recreation. It just did a rebrand, and now they're wellness supporters. That's their position. So Recreation NL is wellness supporters, because whether you're reading a book or going for a walk or a run, that is all under the category of wellness and self-care. And it's important for all of us to, I think, lean into that direction, because self-care doesn't have to be running down the road and sprinting. It can be doing whatever makes you feel well, and that's mental as well as physical. Melanie, what do you think about that?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I think that's something that like many people enter yoga because of the physical benefits, because they feel they're getting stronger and they're getting more flexible, and that's great. And then there's suddenly this, oh wait, I'm connecting to my breath, I'm listening to my body, I'm tuning inward. Oh my God, this is amazing. And so the wellness is not just the physical, then it becomes that connection to yourself is the wellness. And then when you listen to yourself and connect to yourself, you realize, I need this, I want this. So and I think that's the real power of yoga, is that when you listen in, you realize what you need. And then it could be, I need to read that book, I need to have a bath, or I need to go for a run.
That's great. Mike, when you're seeing all of this from the different lenses that you have from day-to-day life, where do you think we will be in the next 3 months? 3 months from now, what will be our general attitude towards wellness as compared to where it was 2 months ago? What are your thoughts on that?
It's funny, because I was just going to say exactly that, is that people's traditional view of wellness has been purely exercise and fitness. But now I think that people are realizing the importance of hobbies and recreation and family and connection and spirituality and self-reflection and the emotional side of things and how they deal with stress, because maybe they haven't had a stressful life and all of a sudden now they're without a job and they have no prospect of a job, and they're trying to make ends meet. There's financial health and wellness that people don't take into account. So I think that the spectrum of what wellness really is going to expand way more than somebody being able to, like you said, run or lift or or bend or whatever, to being somebody that's much more well-rounded. And I think that when we get that view of what real wellness is and what a well person looks like, we're going to realize that, like, you might be strong in 4 of 6 areas, but you got 2 areas that you're pretty deficient in. And maybe that's where you should put your effort in. Maybe you don't need to run that much quicker. Maybe you just need to be able to handle things or manage your budget or things like that. And this is the really unique opportunity we have right now, is that some people are forced into having the opportunity. So I would encourage everybody to reflect on it, and then maybe skip a little bit of the binge watching on TV and focus a little bit on fixing up those areas or learning something new. And that uncomfortableness that comes with being exposed to something for the first time and realizing you're deficient, that's a good sign you're learning.
So true. Dan, I'll turn it to you. What are your thoughts leading into life 3 months from now versus life 3 months ago? What is your wellness vision for the future?
It's tricky, because there's so many unknowns, but I think a lot of it does kind of bounce off what Mike just said. I was even thinking of the example that we use a lot in physical fitness. We hear a lot of times people talk about muscle building and they say how stress is the killer, and how it's just not, and not just in terms of muscle, but the silent killer in so many ways. But you see so many like lifting and muscle gain proponents saying you gotta lessen your stress, but no one's really talking about how. And now we're really put in this position where we're forced to do do that. So my vision is definitely more of like this holistic approach that involves kind of the things that we've been touching on today. So yes, that time for physical strength and the ability, to feel confident in your day-to-day tasks, whether that's getting up on a chair and changing a light bulb or getting your tires out of your shed, when you got to change them over, but also that ability to sense when you maybe is responding with strong emotions and being able to step back and say, okay, what can I do to soothe myself? How can I come back to that place and feel good again? Or how can I navigate that financial stress, or, whatever it is. So I think my vision is definitely that more well-rounded approach. I've tried to engage with some of those things even in myself, and I've noticed the difference in taking the time to do those learnings and to implement those changes. So seeing more variety in how we approach wellness, I think is how we have to move forward.
Melanie, what about you in these final moments? When you think about life before and life in the future under the umbrella of wellness, what are your hopes? What are your thoughts?
I'm all about balance. It's something that I've been seeking for forever, and I always encourage other people to seek as well. And there's some really interesting opinion pieces out there about you don't need to be productive during a pandemic. Eat all the cookies, watch all the TV shows. This is a stressful time. Okay, sure. And I know that I've had my moments where I've just sat and ate cookies, but I think this is a really beautiful opportunity to find some balance and some self-care. So maybe, I'm going to study more Spanish because I have some more time to, but I am going to actually get on my yoga mat or, lift some weights or go for a run. And I'm going to spend some time with my family or on the TV. So I don't think going to either extreme is good. So meeting somewhere in the middle and finding, how can I be my best self, healthy, well in all those areas in the midst of what's going on right now, and finding that balance. That's what I hope to help support people to do. And I hope that's what people can find.
Thank you so much. Well, guys, I'll tell you what, this has been a great little hang. Time has flown by. Not that we had much else to be at, I know, but in any case, so great that you would all join me on this call. Thank you so much, everybody, for viewing this little episode at home and on the internets. And until next time, this is Out of the Fog. Thank you guys so much for your time today. And until next time.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
I've been trying to learn a new language.
Keep your distance. You can make my
Hey, Gabe, we're supposed to be at City Hall.
We're gonna build it right here.
Oh, yeah, sure. And give wetsuits to all the visitors?
No, on the water.
Hey, come on, we're talking about building something the size of 64 city blocks.
And there's no land left in Montreal.
So,